Go outside and look at your hydrangea right now. It probably looks a little tired. The flower heads have lost that clean color they had in June. The edges of the lower leaves might be going crisp. And by 3 in the afternoon, the whole plant is drooping like it's given up on the season. Here's the thing nobody tells you. That plant isn't finishing anything right now. It's starting something. Somewhere in the tips of those stems, in tissue so small you'd need a blade and a lens to find it, your hydrangea is deciding how many flowers it's going to give you next June. Not this year, next year. The buds for next summer are being set right now, in August, while everyone's out there tidying, chopping, and feeding the plant into a completely different shape than the one it needs. So August isn't a maintenance month for a hydrangea. It's a decision month. And almost everything that goes wrong with hydrangeas, the year of leaves and no flowers, the plant that never turns blue no matter what you pour on it, the stems that go soft and black over winter, traces back to something that was done, or not done, in these 4 weeks. I'm going to walk you through exactly what August asks of your hydrangea, in the order it asks for it. 7 things. Some of them will sound like the opposite of what you've been doing. Stay with me, because the last one changes the whole plant next year, and there's a small trick right at the end that most people never learn. 1. Find out which hydrangea you're actually standing in front of, because August means 2 different things. Everything else in this video depends on this, and it takes about 10 seconds. Look at the flower heads. If they're rounded mop heads or flat lace caps, and they're blue, pink, purple, or some muddy shade in between, and they opened back in June, you've got a big leaf hydrangea. If the leaves are big and lobed like an oak leaf, with cone-shaped white flowers that have gone rosy, that's an oak leaf. Both of these bloom on old wood. That means the stems standing in your garden today are the exact stems that will carry next year's flowers, and the buds are forming inside them this month. Now, if instead you're looking at long cone-shaped flower heads that started white or lime in July and are slowly turning pink or rust as the weeks go on, that's a panicle hydrangea. And if it's a big loose ball of white that flopped over in the first heavy rain, that's a smooth hydrangea, Annabelle and her relatives. Those 2 bloom on new wood. They build next year's flowers from scratch next spring, on growth that doesn't exist yet. The old wood types are carrying next year's flowers in their stems right now, which means every cut you make in August is a cut into next June's display. The new wood types are far more forgiving. You could take them to the ground in late winter and they'd still bloom. So when I tell you not to cut something in a minute, that warning is aimed squarely at the mop heads, the lace caps, and the oak leaves. Quick one, if you actually want a step-by-step guide for all this. Maybe your plant's struggling, or you just can't get it to bloom. I put every fix into one cheat sheet. You get everything in my Plant Fix and Bloom cheat sheet. It's the first link in the description. Let's continue. 2. Deadhead from the top down, and stop at the first pair of fat buds. This is where most of the damage happens, and it happens with the best intentions. You go out with the secateurs because the old flower heads have gone brown and papery, and the plant looks untidy. You cut back to a nice tidy height. Maybe you take off 6 inches, maybe a foot, because that's what you do to a plant that's finished flowering. Next June you get a hydrangea covered in beautiful healthy leaves and not a single bloom, and you spend the whole summer blaming a late frost. The frost didn't do it. The secateurs did. Here's how to deadhead an old wood hydrangea in August without losing a thing. Follow the spent flower head down its little stalk until you reach the first full pair of leaves. Just below that flower head, sitting where the leaves meet the stem, you'll see 2 small swellings. Those are buds. Look closely at the ones a little further down, and you'll notice some are visibly plumper than the leaf buds around them. Those plump ones are your flowers. Make your cut just above that first fat pair of buds, taking off nothing but the dead flower and its thin stalk, and leave every inch of woody stem below it alone. If you're not confident spotting buds, do the lazy version, which is honestly what I'd recommend. Leave the flower heads on entirely. They'll dry on the plant, catch frost beautifully in winter, and give the stems a bit of protection. Cut them off in spring instead, when the new leaves show you exactly which wood survived. 3. Put the nitrogen away, because it's the wrong food for this month. There's a reflex a lot of us have where a plant looks tired and we reach for fertilizer. In August, with a hydrangea, that reflex will cost you. Nitrogen tells a plant one thing: grow. Push out leaves, push out soft green stems, get bigger, and the plant will obey, because that's all it knows how to do. So you feed it in August, and it responds with a flush of pale, soft, watery growth right at the ends of the branches. That growth has nowhere to go. It doesn't have time to harden off before the cold arrives. It's the tissue that goes black and mushy in the first hard frost, and it's sitting on the exact stem tips that were meant to be carrying next year's buds. On top of that, every unit of energy the plant spends making those leaves is energy it didn't spend on bud formation. You've essentially bribed it into doing the wrong job at the worst possible moment. Your last proper feed of the year should already be behind you, and anything you add now should be about roots and stem strength rather than green growth. If your soil is genuinely poor and you feel you have to do something, a light scattering of something low in nitrogen with a bit of potassium in it is fine, watered in well. Or do what I do, which is nothing at all until spring. A hydrangea has never once died of being unfed in August. 4. Learn to ignore a wilting hydrangea at 3 in the afternoon. Hydrangeas are dramatic. The name literally comes from the Greek for water vessel, and they behave like it. On a hot August afternoon, the leaves lose water through their pores faster than the roots can pull it up, and the whole plant collapses into that theatrical droop that makes you run for the watering can. So you water every afternoon, because every afternoon it wilts again. And by September, you've got yellowing leaves and a plant that's declining, and you cannot understand it because you've been so attentive. That afternoon wilt is very often not thirst. It's a heat response, and it's temporary. As the sun drops and the air cools, the roots catch up and the leaves lift again all on their own. What you did by watering into that was keep the soil permanently saturated, which suffocates the fine surface roots hydrangeas depend on. Root rot in a hydrangea looks almost exactly like drought from above. Go out and look at the plant first thing in the morning instead, because a hydrangea that is still flat at 7 in the morning is genuinely thirsty, and one that has stood back up is simply hot. When it does need water, give it properly, a long, slow soak at the base until the ground is wet several inches down, once or twice a week, rather than a sprinkle every day. And water the soil, not the leaves. Wet foliage sitting through a warm, humid August night is how you invite every fungal problem there is. 5. Cool the roots, not the leaves. Here's something that surprises people. A hydrangea's roots aren't deep. They're a shallow, fibrous mat sitting in the top few inches of soil, and that's the layer that bakes hardest in August. When you see scorched brown leaf edges, the real problem is usually happening underground, not in the air. By this point in the season, whatever mulch you laid down in spring has broken down, washed out, and thinned to almost nothing. Refresh it. 2 or 3 inches of shredded bark, leaf mold, or compost spread out across the whole root area, which is wider than you think. Imagine the outer edge of the leaf canopy and mulch out to at least there. The one thing to get right is the middle. Pile mulch up against the woody base of the plant, and you hold moisture directly against the crown, which invites rot right where the plant can least afford it. Leave a clear gap of a few inches of bare soil all the way around the base of the stems, so the mulch is protecting the roots without ever touching the wood. While you're down there, if your hydrangea sits in full blazing afternoon sun and scorches every single year, make a note to move it, in late autumn or early spring, when it's dormant. Not now. Digging up a hydrangea in August is the one stress it genuinely may not recover from. 6. If you want blue flowers next summer, August is the start line, not spring. This is the one almost nobody gets right, and it's the reason so many people give up on ever changing their hydrangea's color. The color of a big leaf hydrangea comes down to aluminium. The aluminium is already in most soils. What changes is whether the plant can absorb it, and that depends on how acidic the soil is. Acidic soil frees the aluminium up, and you get blue. Neutral or alkaline soil locks it away, and you get pink. The plant isn't choosing. The soil is choosing for it. Now, here's the timing problem. Most people notice their flowers are the wrong color in June, panic, and dump soil acidifier on in July, then wonder why nothing happened. Elemental sulfur, the safest way to acidify, doesn't work chemically. It gets converted by soil bacteria, slowly, and only while the soil is warm. That process takes months. Applying your acidifier now, while the soil is still warm and the bacteria are active, gives it the entire autumn to actually shift your pH before next year's flowers ever open. Go the other way if you want stronger pink. Garden lime, worked in gently, same timing, same reasoning. And save yourself the effort if you've got a white hydrangea or a panicle. White varieties have no pigment to work with, and the rosy blush you see on a panicle in late summer is just age and cool nights, nothing to do with your soil. 7. Resist the 3 things August will tempt you into. Don't transplant. I said it above, and I'll say it again, because it's the mistake with the highest cost. A hydrangea moved in August loses a huge share of its fine feeder roots at the exact moment it needs them most, and it's carrying next year's buds while it tries to recover. Wait for dormancy. Don't panic about spotted leaves. Around now, you'll start seeing purple-brown spots creeping up from the bottom of the plant, and the lower leaves may yellow and drop. That's leaf spot. It arrives with warm, humid nights, and it looks far worse than it is. The plant is on its way towards autumn regardless. Rake up the fallen leaves so the spores don't overwinter. Keep water off the foliage, and let it be. Stripping the leaves off yourself only removes the factory that's currently powering bud formation. And don't tidy for the sake of tidy. I know the urge. The plant is sprawling, the flowers are faded, and everything in you wants to give it a neat shape before autumn. Every stem you shorten on an old wood hydrangea this month is a handful of flowers you have quietly deleted from next June, and you won't find out until it's far too late to undo. Shape it in spring, after the leaves emerge and the plant has shown you what's alive. Before you go, one small thing you've earned. If you've ever tried cutting hydrangea blooms for a vase and watched them collapse within a day, you were cutting too early. Go and squeeze a flower head now. If it still feels soft and fleshy, leave it. If it feels papery and slightly stiff, like thin fabric, cut it with a long stem, strip the leaves, and stand it in a jar with an inch of water. Let that inch evaporate away, and the bloom dries standing up, holding its shape and most of its color for years. Late August into September is the narrow window where that works, and it's completely free. So that's your August. Check which type you've got. Deadhead, only the flower head if at all. No nitrogen. Water on the morning test rather than the afternoon droop. Mulch the roots with a gap at the crown. Start your color change now, and keep the secateurs in the shed. Do that, and you won't see the reward this month. You'll see it next June, in a plant absolutely loaded with buds, while your neighbors are standing over green bushes, wondering what went wrong. If this cleared something up for you, tell me in the comments which hydrangea you've got out there, and what color it's giving you this year. I read every one, and the color questions are the ones I love answering. Subscribe if you'd like the rest of the year with me, because September brings its own job, and it's a completely different one. I'll see you in the next one.